Hello everyone. So today we will be discussing a question of risk theory to solve it in Excel. So this is question 7 of a computer-based test. So the question states that magnitude of each observation X depends on the parameter theta via as following information. So these are the information given us, which is probability of X given theta. And there are different values of X, which is 5, 7, 9, 14, 17, and similarly different values of theta, which is 4, 6, 7, and 9. So this distribution is conditional, and we will convert this into a marginal distribution, which is one distribution would be in terms of X and other distribution would be in terms of theta. So the question gives us information that the absolute difference between variance of X and variance of theta is 19.48563,679. So the thing we need to do is find the values of A and B. So let's see how we will solve this question in Excel. So the first thing for us to do is copy these values in a table in Excel in order to solve it. So here are the values that X can take, and here are the values that theta can take. So we just need to copy the value from the question and write it here. But in our case, we don't have values for A and B here because that's what we need to find. So the first thing to do is write the value of A and B, which we don't have here. So we can just assign these two boxes for A and B respectively in order to use it to solve the question. So the first thing would be the probability when X is pi and theta is 4 is actually B minus 0.01. So in order to do that, we will just use this cell minus 0.01. You can see this cell because this is the value for B which we must find. So we do this thing and we can just sub other values which is 0.043 and so on, all of it. After we substitute all of them, we get this answer for probability of X and for theta. So we similarly do this for all the values of X here, and we get this answer. So for example, this one is supposed to be when X is 17 and theta is 9, the value is 3a minus 0.09. So we would do 3 times D13, which is the position for A, and we would minus 0.09. The first step here is done. So in order to find the A and B, first we need to construct two different equations. So we would start to work on equations now, and I will explain as we go on. So there is also information given us here which will be useful for us to find the equation. So in order to find the variance of X and variance of theta, so this is the formula to find the variance of X, which is expected of X square minus expected of X whole square. So to work on this formula, we will first find the value of expected of X. So the second step would be to find the probability of X and probability of theta, which is marginal and not conditional. So how to find the probability of X and probability of theta? So value of X is 5, 7, 9, 14, and 17. So probability of X, this would be summation from D5 to D8 when X equals to 5. So similarly, we do for X equals to 7, 9, 14, 17, and we get all these values. So when we total them up, we actually get 0.41, but the answer is supposed to be 1. This is because summation of total probability is always 1, but this is not 1, it's because we don't have values for A and B. Now we will see how we will use this thing to find the answer for A and B. So in order to find expected of X, the formula is X times probability of X. So we can just write the formula in Excel and we would get this as answer, and we could apply same formula for all of the probabilities here, and we get this answer. So to sum them up, we can use the summation feature of Excel. So the next step would be to find expected of X squared. So in order to do that, we need to square the X and times the probability of X equals to X. So here would be, we would use the Excel formula again, and we just copy everything for all of these values here. And when we total this is the answer for expected of X squared. So basically, we would repeat the same procedure to find the values of probability of theta equals to theta. And we get all these values with the similar process, just in terms of theta this time instead of X. And we get all these values. But again, value of total probability should be 1, but in our case, there is some error because we don't have values for A and B. That's why the probability is 0.41. So we found the probability, we found the expected of X and expected of theta, also the expected X square, and similarly for theta. So now it's the time to find the variance by using the formula I stated here. So variance of X is this minus this square. So we can use Excel to do it, and we get this as our answer. And similarly, we repeat the procedure to find the variance of theta, and we get this as answer. So the question gave us the information that absolute difference. So we would find the absolute difference between these two numbers here. And when we do that using, this feature stands for absolute. So we will do the absolute difference between these two, and we get the answer as 18.0475. But the question give us the answer should be 19.48 something. So we know it's wrong. That's why we will use the Excel feature, which is known as the solver feature, to find the values. So this is a tricky question because we are working backwards. So in this question, we will be using the backwards way because we have all the answers here, but we don't have answers for A and B here, which would change all of these values. So how to use the solver feature? The first thing we need to do is make sure this probability as well as this probability is 1. So we would use this and we would choose this K9 as our objective, and we need a value of 1 by changing variables. So what are the things we need to change so that they are basically A and B? So we can do this and enter this. Okay, so that's it. And then we can click on solve. Okay, so this is the value 1. And similarly for this. So we get this value for 1, but our variance is still wrong. So we need to change the value of the variance here. So we will use the solver function again here. So we use solver, and for our objective would be this value of, so the value from the question is 19.4856, 3, 6, 7, 9. 19.4, 5, 6, 3, 6, 7, 9. Okay. And again, we need to change the variables in the D13 and D14, which is values of A and B. But here we need to add the constraints. Because constraints here would be the value we just said, which is 1 for probability, for the total probability. So we can add. So the first one would be this should always be equal to 1. And we add one more, which is this should also be equals to 1. Okay. So everything is okay. So yeah, this should be the, okay. So we do the solve. Okay. So when we do this, we get the answer for absolute difference between variance of x and variance of theta is similar to the one given in the question. Similarly, we get the total probability, sum of total probability equals to 1 and 1. So therefore, our answer is now correct, and the values for A is 0.061268 and B is 0.049276. So this is the whole working for the question. Thank you.